Monster-in-law's money demands shattered my marriage. Did I overreact? Mother-in-law called me greedy after the wedding. You should spend more money on your family. Play, she said. And then, my name is Olivia. I'm Olivia. And a perfectly planned life I meticulously constructed at 30 years old became a horrifying, twisted nightmare. All thanks to a mother-in-law from the deepest circle of you-know-where. I'm a woman who speaks the language of numbers, finding comfort in their logic and predictability. People always said I had a knack for this skill which had always been my trusted compass through life, ensuring stability and control. Then Michael walked into the picture and everything started to unravel. It was at a party, one of those rare occasions where I allowed my friend Sarah to drag me kicking and screaming out of my comfort zone. Come on, Olivia, you need to get out more, she'd insisted, standing awkwardly alone, clutching a drink like a lifeline. I was the easy prey when Michael approached. Hi, I'm Michael. I don't think we've met, he said, extending his hand. I'm Olivia, I replied, shaking it. So Olivia, what brings you here? He asked. My friend dragged me, I confess. I'm not much of a party person. Neither am I, Michael admitted. But sometimes it's good to get out of your comfort zone. And just like that, the trajectory of my life shifted. We talked for what felt like an eternity. Michael was effortlessly charming, a captivating storyteller who listened with genuine interest and had a way of making me laugh that I hadn't experienced before. He told me about his job at a local bookstore, a place brimming with stories, and his passion for classic movies. I, in turn, shared my world as an accountant, a world filled with balance sheets and puzzles of a different kind. As the night wore on, we found ourselves huddled away from the bustling crowd, completely lost in our conversation. It was strange, this connection. We were polar opposites, yet somehow, the pieces of our lives seemed to fit together in an unexpected way. When the party finally ended, Michael, with a hopeful glint in his eye, asked for my number. I'd like to see you again, Olivia. Maybe we can go for coffee. Hesitation flickered through me, but the pull was too strong. That would be nice, I conceded. And so it began, days filled with laughter, movie nights under the soft glow of the screen, and I was spent unraveling the complexities of our lives together. Michael was everything I hadn't known that I was missing. Kind, spontaneous, and utterly captivating. He made me feel seen, but there was a gnawing unease, a dissonance that threatened to shatter the harmony. Michael lived in a moment, a stark contrast to my meticulously planned existence. I thrived on structure, on knowing what lay ahead. Planning was my sanctuary, the key to my sense of control. One day, I broached the subject, tiptoeing around the issue, afraid to disrupt the fragile balance we had created. Michael, don't you think you should plan more? It's important to have a plan, I cautiously suggested. Michael simply smiled, that infuriatingly charming smile that always seemed to disarm me. Olivia, I like the way I live. Planning is good, but sometimes you have to just go with the flow. I didn't understand it, couldn't grasp the concept of surrendering to the unknown. But I was falling for him, and falling hard. Too much to let it become an issue. One evening, under a sky full of stars, Michael led me to a secluded spot by the river, the gentle murmur of the water providing a serene backdrop. Olivia, he began, turning to face me, his eyes filled with an emotion that mirrored my own. I love you. I know we're different, but I think that's what makes us special. Will you marry me? The question hung in the air, a seismic shift in the landscape of my life. Marriage, a monumental step, but staring into his eyes, I knew the answer. Yes, Michael, I'll marry you, I whispered. And that's how the perfectly organized world of Olivia, the woman who loved numbers and planning, was about to collide head-on with the chaotic, unpredictable world of Michael, the charming, easygoing man who lived in the moment. It was unexpected, a deviation from my carefully crafted path. But sometimes, life throws curveballs when you least expect it, and all you can do is hold on tight. We envision a small, intimate affair, just close family and friends, a simple ceremony, perhaps a cozy dinner afterwards, a celebration of our love, stripped of unnecessary extravagance. But fate, or rather, Michael's mother Margaret, had other plans. When we shared the news with our respective families, my parents were immediately smitten with Michael, charmed by his genuine nature. Michael's parents, however, seemed less enthusiastic, more relieved. It's good you found someone serious, they remarked, their tone hinting at past indiscretions. As we delved into the wedding planning, Michael and I sat down with our parents, ready to present our vision for a low-key celebration. I was thinking of a small wedding, I began. Michael nodded in agreement, but Margaret's eyes flashed with disapproval. Oh no, she declared, her voice cutting through the air. Michael is our only son. All our friends and family should come. It needs to be grand. But Margaret, that's not what we want, I protested, my carefully laid plans crumbling before my eyes. Michael, however, remained silent, offering no support. Mom knows best. Olivia, let's do what she wants. And just like that, the wedding planning became a runaway train. It was nothing like what I had envisioned. The guest list ballooned. Strangers I had never met were suddenly invited. The venue transformed into a vast, impersonal space, and the decorations became an ostentatious display of wealth. One day, during a cake tasting session, surrounded by sugary confections and overwhelming choices, I tried to reason with Michael. "This is too much. Michael, this isn't what we wanted," I pleaded, my voice laced with desperation. Michael simply shrugged, dismissing my concerns with a wave of his hand. "It's just one day, Olivia. Let's make everyone happy." The wedding day arrived, a blur of forced smiles and hollow promises. Standing in the dressing room, my heart heavy with doubt, I repeated the words I do, but the words felt empty, devoid of the love and commitment I had hoped to express. The reception was even worse. Loud music, a sea of unfamiliar faces, and Margaret, ever present, hovering around, ensuring everything was exactly as she wanted. Overwhelmed, I slipped outside for a breath of fresh air, seeking solace in the cool night air. Michael found me, his expression a mixture of concern and annoyance. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked. I looked at him, feeling a torrent of emotion surge through me. "This isn't what I wanted. Michael, this isn't me," I whispered, my voice trembling with suppressed anger. Michael took my hand, his touch offering little comfort. "I know, Olivia, but it's just one day. We have our whole lives ahead of us." I desperately wanted to believe him, to trust that this was just a temporary deviation from our path. But deep down, a nagging voice whispered that I had made a mistake, that I had married a man who prioritized his mother's desires over my own. I loved Michael desperately, irrevocably, and that realization terrified me. The days following the wedding were supposed to be filled with bliss and the joy of starting our new life together. Instead, they were overshadowed by a growing sense of unease. Michael and I settled into our new routine, but the harmony was disrupted by Margaret's increasingly intrusive presence. Then one Tuesday morning, as I was getting ready for work, the doorbell rang. To my utter bewilderment, Margaret stood on my doorstep, a large suitcase in tow. "Margaret, what a surprise. Is everything okay?" I asked, my confusion evident. "Oh dear, I thought Michael told you," she said, pushing past me without waiting for an invitation. "I'm staying with you for a while. My house is being renovated." Michael hadn't mentioned a word of this. My blood ran cold. I immediately called him at work, my voice tight with controlled anger. "Michael, why didn't you tell me your mom was staying with us?" I demanded. "Oh, I forgot," he replied casually. "It's just for a few weeks, Olivia. It's not a big deal." Not a big deal. His mother was moving into our house, uninvited, unannounced, and he didn't think it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Margaret didn't just stay with us. She took over our lives. She had opinions on everything. What we ate, how we cleaned, how we spent our money. Our home, my sanctuary, had been invaded. One evening, I came home to find Margaret sitting at the kitchen table, our bills spread out before her like a battlefield. Trying to maintain a semblance of calm, I asked, "What are you doing?" "Margaret, I'm looking at your expenses," she replied, not even bothering to look up. "You're spending too much as a family." I felt a surge of anger, a burning resentment at her audacity. "These are our personal finances. Margaret, it's not your place," I retorted, my voice rising. Margaret finally looked at me, her eyes glinting with defiance. "I'm just trying to help." I wanted to scream, to unleash the pent-up frustration that had been simmering inside me, but I knew that arguing would be futile. I turned and walked away, feeling violated and utterly powerless. The situation spiraled further out of control. Margaret criticized everything I did, every decision I made. No matter what I cooked or how I cleaned, she was never happy with anything I ever did. She judged every aspect of my being. One Saturday morning, as I was making breakfast, she marched into the kitchen, her face contorted with disapproval. "You're making pancakes. That's too many carbs. You should make something healthier," she said, her voice laced with condescension. I took a deep breath, struggling to maintain my composure. "Margaret, I appreciate your concern, but I can make my own decisions about what I eat," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I'm just saying, a wife should take care of her health." I felt my anger rising, threatening to explode. Just then, Michael walked into the kitchen, sensing the tension in the air. "What's going on?" he asked, his eyes darting between Margaret and me. "Your mother is telling me how to cook now," I exclaimed, my voice shaking with rage. Michael looked uncomfortable, caught between his mother and his wife. "Mom, maybe you should let Olivia do her thing," he mumbled, his voice barely audible. "Fine," Margaret snapped, glaring at me. "But don't blame me if things go wrong." That night, I tried to have a serious conversation with Michael, a desperate attempt to salvage our marriage. "I can't live like this. Michael, your mother is controlling everything," I pleaded, tears welling up in my eyes. Michael sighed, avoiding my gaze. "She's just trying to help, Olivia. She's old and set in her ways. But this is our home, Michael. We should make our own decisions," I argued, my voice cracking with desperation. Michael didn't respond. He simply turned and went to bed, leaving me alone with my shattered dreams. I was beyond my limit with Margaret's constant meddling and criticism. especially regarding our finances. It was time to take a stand. One evening, as we all sat in the living room, an uneasy silence hanging in the air, I decided to confront the issue head on. Margaret, I've been thinking, I began, trying to keep my tone neutral. How about we do an experiment? For 1 month, let's keep separate budgets for our expenses. Then we can compare and see who's more efficient with money. Margaret raised an eyebrow, her lips curling into a smirk. An experiment? Interesting. Do you think you can manage better than me? Yes, I do, I replied, my voice filled with a newfound determination. Michael looked uneasy, sensing the impending conflict. Olivia, is this necessary? He asked, his voice laced with apprehension. Yes, Michael, it is, I retorted firmly. I think it's a fair challenge. All right, dear, Margaret said, accepting the challenge with a confident smile. Challenge accepted, and so, the battle of the budgets began. I kept meticulous records of every penny I spent, meticulously tracking each transaction. Meanwhile, I noticed Michael surreptitiously siphoning extra cash from our joint account. Though I knew what was going on, I opted to remain silent, allowing the situation to unfold. The month flew by in a whirlwind of receipts, spreadsheets, and simmering resentment. At the end of it all, Margaret, exuding self-assurance, demanded, all right, let's see what you've got, Olivia. I laid out my documents, meticulously organized and neatly presented, showcasing every transaction and bill. As you can see, I announced, I've managed to save quite a bit this month, even with all the regular expenses. Margaret scanned the papers, her smile faltering slightly. Michael cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably in his seat. Well, I didn't spend much, he mumbled, just the usual stuff. I knew it was time to reveal what I knew. Michael, what about the extra money you took from our joint account? I asked, my voice laced with accusation. Michael's face flushed crimson. I needed it for some personal things, he stammered, avoiding my gaze. I retrieved the bank statements from our joint account, highlighting the suspicious withdrawals. Here's the proof, I stated, presenting the evidence to Margaret. Your spending was higher than mine this month. Margaret's face was a mask of shock and anger. Michael, she sputtered, unable to articulate her disappointment. Michael remained silent, unable to meet our gazes, shame consuming him. As you can see, I concluded, my voice filled with a quiet triumph. I'm quite capable of managing our finances efficiently. Margaret was silent for a moment, processing the information. Then, she looked up, her eyes hardened with resentment. But this doesn't change anything, she declared, her voice filled with unwavering conviction. I still believe I know what's best for this family. I let out a sigh of exasperation, a small victory feeling hollow. It was a step in the right direction, proving my competence with numbers and finances. It was clear more challenging battles lay ahead, and this was just the beginning. The air was thick with tension after the budget showdown. The confrontation had left a mark, a visible line dividing our already fractured household. It was a Saturday morning. I was in the kitchen, making coffee, when Margaret walked in, her face set in a grim line. Olivia, we need to talk, she said, her voice devoid of any warmth. Okay, Margaret, what's on your mind? I replied, bracing myself for another round of accusations. It's about your attitude towards money. It's not healthy, she accused, her words laced with venom. I was taken aback by the directness of her assault. Margaret, I'm just trying to be responsible with our finances, I retorted, my voice rising defensively. No, Margaret spat, her eyes narrowed with disdain. You're hoarding, you don't want to share, you don't understand what it means to be part of a family. I felt my frustration boiling over, threatening to consume me. That's not true, I exclaimed, my voice shaking with indignation. I work hard for my money, and I think it's fair to want to manage it wisely. Before I could say anything further, Michael walked into the kitchen, sensing the escalating conflict. What's going on? He asked, his eyes darting between his mother and me. Your wife, Margaret said, turning to him, her voice dripping with accusation. She's not right. Michael said hesitantly, Olivia, maybe you should ease up a bit. His face was red. Her comment made me angrier. Mom has a point, he said. My blood ran cold. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Michael, you're taking her side, I asked, my voice laced with disbelief. Michael shrugged, avoiding my gaze. I just think we should all get along, he mumbled, his voice barely audible. That was the final straw. My limit had been reached. I gathered my composure. I walked over to the table. I laid out the bank statements and every receipt that I could find related to money issues. You want to talk about money? I challenged as I did so. Look at all the proof of all the money Michael has been giving you. Margaret's face turned red. That's none of your business, she retorted, her voice filled with indignation. He's my son, and he's helping his mother. I glared at Margaret. And what about the wedding? You wanted a grand affair, a lavish celebration. Who do you think paid for that? It was me, against my wishes. I paused, taking a deep breath to regain control of my emotions. I've had enough of this, I declared, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and sadness. This is not how a family should be. I work hard for my money, and I won't be treated like this anymore. So what are you going to do? Margaret taunted, her eyes glinting with defiance. I met her gaze, my heart pounding in my chest. I'm going to think about what's best for me. This can't go on, I stated, my voice filled with a newfound resolve. And with that, I turned and left the room, leaving behind a scene of simmering resentment and shattered dreams. Frustration and sadness consumed me, and as I walked off, all I could wonder was what had become of my marriage. My marriage was crumbling before my eyes, and the family I had hoped to be a part of was nothing like I had imagined. It was time to make some tough decisions, to prioritize my own well-being and happiness. But for the moment, the house felt colder, the walls seemed to echo my thoughts, and the future felt uncertain. The next few days were a blur of quiet contemplation. I tried to find a space to think about my next steps. I knew a conversation with Michael was inevitable, a confrontation that could potentially alter the course of our lives further, and it came sooner than I expected. It was a quiet evening. Michael walked into the living room where I was sitting. I saw a determined look on his face as he did so. We need to talk, Olivia, he said, his voice filled with a newfound intensity. I nodded in agreement. Yes, we do. He took a deep breath, bracing himself for the difficult conversation ahead. I've been thinking, and I have made a decision, he announced, his eyes fixed on mine. I waited, my heart pounding in my chest, unsure of what was to come. I want things to go back to how they were. I want to be able to spend my money how I like, without constantly being questioned or judged. I don't want to argue about it anymore, he said, his voice firm and unwavering. I looked at him, trying to keep my emotions in check, but anger began to bubble to the surface. Michael, it's not just about the money. It's about respect, trust, and being partners. We're supposed to be in this together, I said, my voice trembling with emotion. He shook his head, his expression hardening. I can't live like this. I can't live constantly being questioned and judged. It is too much. I need to be able to breathe. I need to be able to have peace, he said, his voice filled with frustration. So, I'm giving you an ultimatum. Let me spend without restraint. His words hit me like a punch to the gut, leaving me breathless and reeling. I felt a mix of disbelief, anger, and a strange sense of clarity. You're giving me an ultimatum? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Yes, he replied firmly, his eyes unwavering. I took a moment to gather my thoughts, to process the weight of his words. Michael, if that's how you see our marriage, then I agree to the divorce, I said, my voice filled with a newfound resolve. He seemed taken aback, as if he hadn't expected me to call his bluff. You agree, just like that? He asked, his voice laced with surprise. I stood up, feeling a surge of strength coursing through me. Yes, just like that, I replied, my voice clear and strong. I won't be part of a marriage where my partner doesn't respect me or our future together. I deserve better. For the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes, a hint of regret. Olivia, are you sure? He asked, his voice softening slightly. Yes, I'm sure. I want a partner who stands with me, not against me. And clearly, that's not you, I said, my voice filled with finality. Michael didn't say anything more. He just turned and left the room, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I sat back down, feeling a strange mix of sadness, relief, and a sense of empowerment. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I was taking control of my life, making a decision that was in my best interest. The house felt different after Michael left, emptier, but also somehow lighter. The first thing I did was start reorganizing, rearranging furniture, and redecorating. It was therapeutic, a way of wiping the slate clean, of creating a space that reflected my own identity. One evening, while sorting through all photographs, my phone rang. It was Sarah, a dear friend I hadn't seen in months. Olivia, how are you holding up? She asked, her voice filled with concern. I'm managing, Sarah, just taking it one day at a time, I replied, trying to sound stronger than I felt. I never trusted her, Sarah said, referring to Margaret. I let out a soft laugh, a sense of camaraderie washing over me. You and me both, but it's over now. I'm focusing on what's ahead, I said, my voice filled with a newfound optimism. You're so strong, Olivia. Remember, I'm always here if you need anything, she said, squeezing my hand across the table. I smiled genuinely, feeling grateful for her unwavering support. Thank you, Sarah. That means the world to me. Life gradually regained its rhythm. I reconnected with friends, found solace in quiet evenings with books, and poured myself into my work. I was rediscovering myself, piece by piece, rebuilding a life that was authentic and fulfilling. Then, one day, out of the blue, my phone rang. It was Michael. Olivia, I want to apologize. Can we talk? His voice was unsteady, filled with regret. I hesitated, unsure of what to say. Go ahead, Michael, I said finally, my voice guarded. I was wrong, terribly wrong. Living with my mum is impossible. She's never satisfied, and I can't keep up with her demands. I'm broke, he said. I need to come back home, Olivia. He pleaded, his voice desperate. I took a deep breath, stealing my resolve. Michael, I accept your apology, but it changes nothing. We had our time, and it's over now. I've moved on, I said, my voice firm. Olivia, please, he begged. Michael, I cut him off, my voice leaving no room for argument. This is my life now, and I'm not going back to how things were. Take care of yourself. And with that, I hung up the phone, feeling a surge of empowerment wash over me. I had picked up the pieces of my shattered life, and I wasn't about to scatter them again for anyone. I was whole on my own, and that was all I needed. And each day felt like a step forward, a testament to my resilience and strength. The journey hadn't been easy, but it was mine, and I was determined to make the most of it. My life had taken an unexpected turn, but I was in control now, steering the ship towards a brighter future. It was a text from my dad. Hey, Liv, how about dinner tonight? Just the two of us. My dad was one of my best friends and always a great support system. Sounds great, Dad. See you tonight. Dinner with my dad was always special. He was the one who taught me to be strong, independent, and to never settle for less than I deserved. We met at our favorite diner, a place that felt like home, filled with comforting memories. As we settled into our booth, Dad looked at me with his kind, knowing eyes. How are you holding up, kiddo? He asked, his voice filled with concern. I'm good, Dad. Really, I am. It's been tough, but I'm finding my way, I answered honestly, meeting his gaze. He nodded, his eyes filled with pride. You're strong, Olivia. Always have been. I'm proud of you, he said. His words a comforting balm to my wounded soul. It was comforting, familiar, a reminder that no matter what happened, I always had my family. Later that week, I was at the grocery store, minding my own business, when I bumped into an old acquaintance, Emily, someone I hadn't seen in years. Olivia, it's been ages. How are you? Emily greeted me with a warm smile, her eyes sparkling with genuine interest. Hey, Emily, I'm doing well, thanks. Life's been interesting lately, I replied with a chuckle. We chatted for a while, catching up on old times, reminiscing about shared memories and laughing at old jokes. Before parting ways, Emily paused, studying my face with a thoughtful expression. You seem different, Olivia. At peace, I guess, she said, her words surprising me. I paused for a moment, reflecting on her observation. I guess I am. It took a while, but I'm finally in a good place, I replied, a sense of contentment washing over me. The days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. I had completely reclaimed my life, filling it with activities and experiences that brought me joy. I indulged in hobbies I had long forgotten, rediscovered my passion for reading, and spent countless hours exploring new interests. One evening, as I sat on my porch, sipping tea and watching the sunset, my neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, walked by. She was an elderly lady, always kind and observant, with a gentle smile and a twinkle in her eyes. Good evening, Olivia, she said, her voice warm and soothing. You seem happy these days. I smiled at her, feeling a sense of gratitude for the simple beauty of the moment. Good evening, Mrs. Thompson. Yes, I am happy. It took some time, but I'm there, I replied, my voice filled with contentment. Good for you, dear, she said, her eyes twinkling with wisdom. Happiness is something we all deserve. Soaking in the calm of the evening, the gentle breeze rustling through the trees, I realized how far I had come, how much I had grown, and how much stronger I had become. The journey had been long and arduous, filled with ups and downs, with moments of despair and moments of triumph. But as I looked back, I realized that every step, every stumble, every challenge had led me to this moment, to this place of peace and contentment. I had lost a husband and a mother-in-law, but in return, I had gained something far more precious, myself. I was complete, whole, and at peace, and that was all I needed. Given everything I've shared, do you think I made the right decision to end our marriage? Was I wrong to expect more from Michael? Or should I have been more understanding of his relationship with his mother? Honestly, I'm still wrestling with whether I could have handled things differently, or if it was destined to end this way. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your honest feedback. I'm open to any perspectives you might have, as I am trying to find some closure to this experience.